in a commercial kitchen here, just about doing an inspection. We've spoken to the owner of the premises, and we've got an understanding of what the problem is. What's the process? What are we going to do here? How are we going to approach the inspection?
My approach to this job, as with any job with pest control, is to try and find where the pest is harboured. So you need to apply a methodical approach to try and find where the cockroaches are in the situation. Here, I would certainly break the kitchen up. You've got sort of ground level areas. If they're on wheels or casters, cockroaches will certainly get in and breed in those sorts of areas there. For me, I think German cockroach control, often in the commercial kitchen, you'll often need to put your overalls on to get down and lie on the ground to be able to check and search in under those sort of bench areas or equipment areas to find an infestation there. Looking around the rest of the kitchen area here, you've got similar type areas, under bench areas over here, above this bin. We look over to the dishwasher. The motor area of that area may well conceal cockroaches as well. The shelving area there. Over time, German roaches will conceal themselves or hide themselves behind the soap dispenser, behind the hand washing basin sign, behind the clock area. Potentially any area, any fixture or fitting, they may be harboured around. So they're all important areas to get in and check and inspect to see if there is any problems in those areas there. These areas behind these stainless steel covers are often an area where cockroaches will get in. German roaches will conceal themselves. This cover is fairly well sealed and prevents them being able to access that area there. And when we move down to this area here, same sort of principle, a cover, stainless steel cover, but at the bottom it's not sealed, and certainly German roaches would be able to get up and into this area here. Quite a simple fix, just to run a silicone bead around the bottom of that area there. That's going to prevent them being able to get into that area there. An ideal area again for German roaches to conceal themselves up in this area. We've got this shelf support, this stainless steel shelf support, which doesn't seal too well, and there's a gap sitting between the shelf and the actual plate which supports the shelf. And again, German roaches could hide and conceal themselves in that area there. From an application point of view or choice of formulation, you could use either a dust or a gel application in this sort of situation. Okay, just to sum up, trying to treat a kitchen of similar sort of size and nature in relation to German cockroaches, you'd be wanting at least 30 minutes or more to get in and treat this sort of situation. You could be looking at an hour if there was a heavy infestation in this place. The approach needs to be methodical. Get in and try and find all the potential areas where the cockroaches might be found. From a choice of formulation point of view, I would look to use Maxforce, any of our Maxforce gels to control your German cockroach problem. Your Coupex dust applied in the cracks and crevices, and tempered could be applied as an edge spray to try and combat your German roach problem as well in that area.
Okay, Brett, we're on an external dining area here. People come out with their food and drinks. What are we going to be dealing with here? What are the pests we're likely to find? And what's the approach we're going to take with that?
Okay, Jeff, I think our focus is going to shift from the internal problems we encountered with German cockroaches to larger species of cockroaches being in an external area outside here. We may encounter American, Australian, smoky brown cockroaches in this situation. Not ruling out German roaches, but the outside environment's less likely to be an issue with those guys.
Well, the first thing is always look up, and if I look up I see sheeted roof area. Clearly there's a void up there, and if we've got a large problem of roaches, that's probably the first place I'd go, because during the day we're probably not going to see too many roaches, and if they're around they're probably going to be hiding up in there at the moment.
Obviously to do that we'd need to get a ladder to access the ceiling void. We've got a couple of different areas, one over here and one behind this area over here. We'd get up and check and inspect to see if we're dealing with there's any cockroach activity up in that area there. If we found cockroach activity there, what type of application would be used, Jeff, in this situation?
Definitely a dust. Coupex dust, Mindful of course, when we put dust into a void, where is it going to go? We've got quite a number of light fixtures and vents in this roof space here, and we put dust in at one point. Where's it going to end up? We want to make sure that we're not pumping out heaps of dust down the other end, out onto tables, etc. But certainly I'd be looking at high volume dust application to this void, and I think you get a very effective treatment.
In addition to what you had recommended in the ceiling void area, I would look to apply an edge or perimeter treatment around this floor area here to offer you quite a first line of defence in relation to preventing big cockroaches into the internal areas of the hotel. In addition to that, when we look at the structure of the place here, we've got the borders or the boundary shared with the property next door, so gaining access into this area to try and offer you treatment down at that level becomes difficult. We look at the structure of this railing area here, and we can see or feel that there is a crack or a crevice in this area here, which is a great harbourage for big roaches to conceal themselves in that area there. The ideal product, I think, in this situation would be to apply Sizzlin Ultra or Sizzlin Aerosol in this area here. I mean, I'm suggesting that product because it's going to limit your fallout, of treatment into the open area here. A liquid application, say with temp, would be suitable too, but you may have a concern with it, falling out into areas and getting into areas which you don't want it to be, where people are going to come in contact with.
Putting in the context of perimeter pest control, what we're trying to achieve here is effectively intercepting any pests at this location entering the rest of the building, as well as providing a suitable environment for people to dine and drink out here. As you've said, you put a treatment around the perimeter of this balcony, which is a great idea, and you've identified further out from that a crack that's potentially a major harbourage. In an ideal world, we would have liked to have treated that outside wall, but our jurisdiction really finishes at this point and this height, and it's very difficult for us to achieve the ideal application. So not always can we get a perfect application on the site, because we're not allowed, or we don't have the jurisdiction to get out to those areas to put our treatment. Okay, Brett, we're in the general use storage area. You can see there's quite a different range of things that the owners and the workers put in this room. One of the challenges I can see is that we've got an open roof void. Very difficult to try and work out what we're going to do here. What are the challenges here with regard to a treatment? What are the pests other than German roaches we might come across?
I agree, Jeff. A difficult situation to try and control pests within this environment here. As you can see, it's an open void or open roof arrangement or ceiling arrangement. We're looking up, against the brickwork here. We can see entry points certainly for rodents to come in and access the building in this area. Certainly bigger roaches as well. We look on that wall area there, and it appears as though there's some sort of smear or rub marks, perhaps from rodents, where they've tried to access this area in this room. We look up that wall further up higher again, and again the brickwork's been knocked out as well, and there's a potential entry there for rodents and bigger roaches and other pests to access this room. I think, Jeff, what we need to do here, due to the nature of the environment being in such an open arrangement, perhaps express those thoughts to the manager that there is difficulty in trying to control pest problems in this area or this environment. My thoughts obviously is to try and prevent entry or pests getting into this area. The best way to achieve that would be to put a ceiling back in place in this environment. I appreciate there's a cost involved in that, but I think long term that would be your best approach to try and prevent pest entry into this area. In conjunction with sealing up these major sort of openings in the brickwork here. And in doing that, you're going to reduce problems getting into this room area.
Talk to management, understand what this area is used for, what are the items that stay here permanently and what are the ones that come and go, and that might help a little bit in terms of where we might direct some of our treatment as well. It's like a bit of a storage for dry goods.
Dry goods, yeah. Look, another potential area or areas I see within this room where German cockroaches may harbour themselves. Again, the shelving framework, the hollow tubing up against the wall area over here, I can see looks like a freezer. Another potential area where there's some heat being produced, where German roaches may favour those conditions. Again, ideal area for rodents too to potentially seek a food source in this area.
I'd probably put maybe a rodent station in there, and probably some sticky traps in here just to understand the changes in pest population in this room over time. I just noticed up in there there's a real break in the back corner of this false ceiling, and makes a really good entry point for particularly rodents and potentially some roaches as well. It's something that I'd certainly try and address as part of my proofing measures. What I see with the challenge of some of these commercial properties is that there's a real balancing act between dealing with the pest problem in a proofing sense or an IPM sense, and just doing a direct treatment. It's obviously a lot quicker to zip in, do a treatment up front, than it is to go and spend the time to properly proof areas that you identify as potential harbourages. And obviously that's something that's challenging for pest control companies to grasp. Which way do we go? Do we put our proofing cap on and try and prevent as many pest problems as we can in the front end of a commercial account, getting the benefit longer term, or do we just go in and do our treatment as quick as we can and regularly do that on a monthly basis?
And I think it's important perhaps to give the client some options. We give options for treating other pests in other situations, but give them options about use IPM as a means of trying to prevent the problem, as in replacing the tiles or sealing the gaps and cracks and crevices. Will help prevent problems in the future there. But it's all about communication, letting your customer know what can be achieved to get the best result long term. Okay.
Brett, one thing I notice is the environment. What are you noticing?
Yeah, it's certainly when you walk in from the corridor into the cellar room, storage room area here, it's a lot warmer in this area here. Obviously the machinery is producing some heat, and then I look at all the boxes stored up on the shelf up there, and I put sort of heat and boxes together. It makes me think, well, it's a potential area where German cockroaches could breed up.
All right, thinking about this area and how we treat it, what are we going to do?
But when I look around this room, I see a number of potential areas where German roaches may harbour themselves. We see the boxes there, as we spoke about a bit earlier on. You've got some freezers or an ice machine in this area, and vice versa, same sort of thing, arrangement here. You've got your equipment machinery running over there. I look over on this wall here, I can see your post-mix cartons and your cylinders. You've got fixings or gauges on the wall fixed to plating, which obviously has gaps and crevices behind it. Other potential areas where they may well be. Same with the units, we move around the wall area, I can see the same sort of thing on the back wall. What type formulations would you use in this situation, Jeff?
Well, it's the big three really, isn't it? Your gel with discrete application, it's hand applied dust for all these wall fixed plates, in beyond the power points. And then I personally use a spray application down low to get control of this concreted area. You've told us what you're going to do, what you're going to use, but the one problem I can see here is a lot of clutter. How are you going to get the product to where you want to place it?
Yeah, I agree, Jeff. There is a lot of stored items in the way here. Ideally we need to shift those things to enable us to get into those areas so we can carry out a treatment. If you can achieve that successfully by yourself or shifting those areas, if there's not too much effort or work involved in doing that, by all means. But at times I would probably involve management here in this situation, get them to come in, point the problems out where you found them and ask for their assistance to try and shift some of these goods to enable you to get into those areas. because at the end of the day, it's going to wind up giving a better treatment if we can get access into those areas. Okay, Jeff, we're in the externals of the outside of the hotel here, and what we're going to do now is to try and look to see if we can prevent or help control large cockroaches getting into the building. What I like to do in this situation is apply an external perimeter treatment around the outside of the building to act as a first line of defence to prevent pests being able to access the internals of the building. Some of the difficulties I can see with this situation here at the moment is we've got all this rubbish, stored up against the building here, which restricts you being able to access that wall area to get your treatment in place. Could you suggest or think of other areas you may look to target?
Definitely, Brett, all the entrance ways, all these roller doors where we've got goods coming in and out into the storage areas are key places. I can see, particularly this fluoro light outside is going to be a major attraction for insect activity, so I try and put a treatment around that. And certainly within reach, there are quite a number of cracks and crevices that might be worth also spot treating.
What product do you think would be suitable to use in this situation?
Well, just exactly as what you're using in your perimeter barrier spray, I'd use temperate on pretty much all those areas I've just explained, because we really need something that's going to give us good knockdown for what's there, and particularly the long-lasting residual that we're chasing.